be in a position to encourage cooperation and collaboration between the established and emerging Black-owned businesses. And lastly, we must create opportunities for Black-owned businesses to access funding. This exercise is not just a tick box exercise in which we play lip service to the principle of public participation. This scorecard will impact everybody and every entity in our sector. So whether you are a supporter of B-Bbee or not is completely irrelevant now. Or you can live with the consequence of the clumsy generic scorecard that has been imposed on us. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Oh yeah, 1, 2, 1, 2, still can hear me. Yeah, as you can see, the last slide, it says question and answers. This is your opportunity now. We've brought the entire forum members, although some are not here. We know you have not been able to engage on the document that we've distributed. If there's any question or clarity that you want from us, we are here to assist and answer those questions. The floor is now open.
Thank you, Dr. Selemane. I hope you can still hear me. Yep. Can you still hear me? Yep.
Yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you, Lucia. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. And then Dr. Selemane, we thank you for such a detailed presentation. I hope colleagues have put down their questions. I hope they are ready to with us. But equity, we spoke about the turnover, how much you need to make as a business. We're talking about the payroll, which affects now how we're going to impact the businesses in this industry. We spoke about the net profit after tax, speaking in this regard in terms of employment equity, which involves other labor relations laws. We speak of skills development, which also speaks of other sectors and Department of Education and Department of Higher Education and Training. We speak about access to funding, and then access to funding in this regard doesn't mean that you need to tell us this is my proposal and this is what I need to do, but the access to funding in this space speaks of the enterprise development, and the enterprise development speaks of I've got a business, it's a small business, I am the sole owner of it, and then there's a tender that came out from business Department of Sports, they need equipment for such an event, then I need to submit, then the bigger with the macro organizations then will source the smaller businesses to help them, to enterprise develop them, to say we will supply certain equipment, but we want you to bid so that you can help with the running around with your skill so that we can submit the holistic application. Will uplift you to give you access to the business. And then that access then helps you grow. And then for the business to be able to really help you is to put you into their suppliers database. And that is really the supplier development so that they can continue you. But just to recap also on the elements, we've got 5 elements of the scorecard as Mr. Selemane has indicated. And those 5 elements, I think the panel had really looked into to make sure that they accommodate the sector, and they look into the specific nuances in the sector to make sure that we uplift and elevate those differences from the scorecard, which is the generic scorecard, which can really be used by a law firm, it can be used by a general dealer, it can be used by anything, but we are specific in terms of making sure that we accommodate our special needs. We spoke about ownership. So ownership, we do know that it talks about who owns the business, who are the shareholders of the business, who are the equity participants. Are we inclusive of women? Are we inclusive of people living with disability? I think that's what that is Salaman was just saying. The chairperson was saying that um, they looked into this ownership to say, how do we want it to look like for our sector? They looked at the management control, and he did highlight and elevate that they looked at the promotion of the middle managers. And you would know in your small businesses, you don't really have a structure. And I think the Department of Labor now has really made it easy for small businesses not to really going with how much it makes. It looks at how many people are there to loosen the pressure on the small businesses that don't have like 50 people, 100 people. So this management control helps those macro big business that make more than 5 to 10 million per annum to be able to comply. And I'm using this management control with the managers being able to be promoted, because we find that at top level we only have white and white male, to be specific. So we just want to neutralize it. And that neutralization or that transformation, you need to understand that is to help us as black people. And when I mean black, I mean Africans, Indians, and coloreds, to be able to speak our um, Africans, Indians, and colored issues into that so that they can be taken care of. We speak of skills development, very, very specific into making sure that there are technical people that are excluded, that needs to be included because the work is technical, it's practical work. That needs to be taken care of in the specific sector codes. And we speak of supply and enterprise development. I think I spoke briefly on it. And the last one is skills, socio-economic development. And with socio-economic development, we know the target is to say, please uplift the community that you live at, or you are doing a business at. I think I was watching a TV show one day and somebody was saying, we've got all these businesses in this area, but the community is still struggling. So this is to help us really permeate into the development can be. There's a soccer team that needs some upliftment. They need some soccer boots in the community to help them, move them from the streets, move them from being amapara, like we know and we joke about the alostros of the world, to help them come into the normal society, to bring them into the normal society. And remember, this bringing back into the normal society is to uplift them and to give them purpose and to be able to generate now to make people economically active. So that they can participate in the economy and to lift our economy. I think that's the gist of the triple BEE, especially in the sense of the this sector codes, Etpsi sector codes, so that we are inclusive, and we are able to uplift the economy so that we can be economically active. I'm happy to take questions, and what we will do with questions, I think I will ask maybe Dr. Colin or Menzi to just stand in the podium to pick 3 people. So we'll do we will do rounds of questions. So we'll take 3 questions, and the panel will respond to the 3 questions, and then we take another session with 3 questions, and then we give the panel the opportunity to respond to those questions. Please, when you ask your question, like I said, please be specific in terms of understanding the codes and how they will impact your business. And funding questions, maybe we can take them offline, because the discussion is about the codes and not really about funding. Dr. Colin, happy for you to help me with the hands, so that we can take the questions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Melucia. May we give Ntate Salimani's presentation a round of applause, and Melucia as well as the members of the forum. Okay, just to give us a clue, we will need, thank you, we are all noted, I'm just giving us a framework of how we'll operate the questions. I'll just be the facilitator of which section, to go next. So can we start on the left and move clockwise? Is that okay? So we just go this way, and then we see if there's any other questions that come up. The lady here is Sis Mbali, Mono, who comes with us from the department. She will go around with a microphone. Please speak to the mic so that we can have your voice. Like you see, the advert always says, add your voice, so that we can have your voice in the recording of the live stream. Thank you very much. May we start with this table on the left? If any hands that way? Any hands coming up?
Say if we still thinking about the question, what's going to happen? Should we also go when the mic is on that side?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Okay, we start on the left. Gone. Middle table there. Not yet. There's a question there. Yes. If you can speak to the microphone.
Yes, thank you. Good day, everyone. My name is KK. I'm from Joe Private District. I have a question based on the skill development programming thing, saying that in most cases, some of these forums and everything, we don't get them based on where we are staying because we live very far. So there are also other people that are very interested in such things. So my question is that, do you guys outsource based on, do you have branches or information centers where people can get more info about the business that they are doing and getting helped in the business and stuff? Then the last one will be, as I also said, some of us come from very small towns, so we do not get enough information of this based on developing everything. Is there anywhere where we can get, maybe, since there's technology now, maybe we can get maybe websites and stuff where we can ask questions and get clarity, or like one-on-one sessions? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Enkosi. There's another hand to the right.
Artist.
Artist.
Mandizibulisele, greetings to everyone. My name is Tandeka Vavaza, and I come from the rural municipality of OR Tambo. First comment is on transformation. But I can see the transformation. Thank you very much for displaying that. Secondly, we come from a rural community where we don't have like a private sector that supports us, that is business. So we mainly depend on the government. So I would like to know, how is this triple BEE integrated to the district development plan, where we have access to in our remote areas? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions so far? You're still thinking? Okay. Ma'am, where's the hand? Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'm asking this question because nobody's asking, because I wanted to give everybody a chance to, I just want to know whether there is a monitoring tool in place that will make sure that the departments stick to this triple BEE code. Because I've noticed, especially in my department, where you would find that some of the major services are given to to the white companies while there was a BEE policy in place. So I just felt that there was no one to monitor the implementation of the policy. So what is there now that will make sure that the policy is implemented? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Great questions. There's the last question in the front for this round, and then we will give the moderator, Lucia, and the committee an opportunity.
Molweni to everyone. This is Lukolo Zamisa from Nelson Mandela Bay. Just a follow-up on the question that Utata just asked. In terms of this, the big jobs being given to big companies, is there, in terms of work with the big running of certain events, is there, but we don't have the capacity?
We'll take the first one, where information can.
I'm a bit skeptical. If I listen to the questions, they seem to move a little bit away from the content of the presentation, except this one. And we understand, because this is the same song that has been sang in all provinces. And I guess it goes to one of the elements that you have raised, that the creatives, so when they have a platform, that's the only opportunity then express themselves. That we understand. This panel specifically, we are not working for government. We have no dealings with them except them being mandated by the parliament to support the process that we're dealing with. And there comes difficult to comes a law is now that is the only process that will be taken over. But we also encourage people, because as we're sitting here, we come from different organizations, so strategically we engage with a lot of influential people and decision makers in the country. Hence, there's nothing you can talk about eventing that we are unable to, for whatever information that it brings, including about events lab. So in essence, is that law process will only be done by national government. Law because once you submit a young land, it depends. So that is one aspect of it. The second aspect of it, of your question, ithetha ngento disadvantage kwezindawo nihlala kuzo, you know. I might sound controversial, but I always say to people, the best language that government understands is to put pressure on them. If you want to be lovey-dovey, sending emails, they're not going to listen to you, you know. But now they can listen to you because they need you on me, you know. So always engage authorities of wherever you are. If it means you make noise because of embarrassment. Because it is so sad that industry too, it hatwa as if it's a by the way, it is entertainers. But you are expected to pay tax. But the very same government does not recognize you as a worker, you know, which is something that Abo KP, the trade union, they're busy trying to change in terms of your finance. You will remain a junior, and that's not what we're looking for. The fact that we're trying to level the playing field so that now when you grow and you become a big boss, that will be able to take care of events of national importance. So I thought I needed to answer that quickly.
Okay. I just want to comment very quickly on the question about rural development, because that's a key issue that's plagued our democracy for the last 30 years, is the underdevelopment in the rural areas, and that there is not enough investment being made or alignment with national government policy initiatives and local development strategy. And that's a vacuum that we've identified in most of the policy engagement processes. And the most likely avenue of engagement is through your local government strategy, which is actually meant to support local economic development. So if your local authority does not have a local economic development framework in place, you need to engage with them to ensure that such a strategy is put in place, because it's governed by the Local Government Act, that's a key part of rural development. So your first point of call would be your local authority in the particular district that you reside in or that you work in. So I think, and also remember that there is something called the National Development Plan, which has identified rural development as key to growth opportunities for people and small business. And that development plan was developed over a period of 10 years. So you also have that to hold your local authority and even your provincial government departments accountable in terms of district development. So I just wanted to add that to what my colleague was saying earlier on. In terms of the question on a monitoring tool for implementation of the BEE policy, is that once this process is concluded and this document becomes legislation, there will be a BEE council that will be established, and that will be a statutory body which will monitor the compliance of businesses who are governed by the provisions of this particular scorecard document. That means that every year that council will issue companies who meet the minimum requirements of compliance with a certificate that will be valid for a year, which will stipulate in which categories they have scored a particular number of points and in which categories they are lacking in terms of being able to meet those targets. So that body will be a kind of monitoring and evaluation oversight body to ensure that BEE compliance is being met, first of all, and secondly, that we are able to evaluate the data coming in from the compliance targets that are going to be met and where the deficit is that still needs to be addressed in that particular compliance document. So I think that this process has been thought through very carefully to ensure that we eliminate the practice of fronting and that we ensure that companies are not able to bypass the provisions of the scorecard, because there will be a statutory body represented by all these sectors and appointed by the minister to actually oversee that process. And if companies are found, as you know, fronting now is essentially a criminal act. So those provisions are being put in place in a very coherent and sustained manner, and that will be your recourse if you feel that those provisions are not being met with any agency that you may be dealing with. I'm going to hand over to my colleague on my right, to Gabby, to answer the next question.
Hi, Kalakata and many other things to those of you who are old enough to remember. You started, your first comment was thank you for transforming. Sure, I think if you look at us, we fairly transformed, including our moderator, etc. This regret most is I so much love being an African. I just regret that I was unfortunately born with a white skin. It's the way it is. You can't change it. What I can say to you is you have to remind yourselves, you guys, especially the younger ones amongst you, that our emancipation at this stage is still only political. Economic transformation we've barely scraped the surface. The domination of the white minority was so immense from centuries of colonialization and then manifesting into a regulated, oppressive regime called apartheid. And yes, in everyday life, it might be a lot more comfortable these days to be black. you can go to the post office, and you can, you can take part along the way. And transformation will not happen on its own. Transformation is a poison, or the need for transformation is a medicine that fights the poison of greed and racism, and in our case, it was linked with capitalism. So I'm not going to be long-winded and give you an ideological discussion, but I want to just awaken, light a little flame in each of your hearts to say to you as young Africans, the job is not done yet. We need each and every one of you. I speak as a unionist. You guys need to organize and walk through the door of economic opportunity. Take what is yours. Don't settle for the fake one. Get the position. Some white guy gives you a position in his company just to improve his BEE profile. Or they employ you year after year after year, but when they don't have work, you've got no conditions of employment because the system doesn't protect you. If they fire you, they fire you. You've got no recourse. We saw in COVID how vulnerable we are. There's no UIF. There's nothing that protects us because we're seen as informal workers. We need to change that. We need to create a structure whereby economic transformation becomes viable for us. The other thing, just in terms of transformation, please also be reminded that the oppression of our sector already existed during the days of apartheid. As a musician, I was oppressed by the Broederbond and the apartheid regime. They saw us exactly the same. Shame, they're gonna die as paupers. We must give them a little handout. We are not charity cases. The world is ready for our product. The world is ready for our beautiful culture. You guys are developing the skills. You are the generations that must take that cultural brand to the world where there's the appetite. But you're not going to get it from sitting on your ass. You've got to make it happen. You've got to walk through the doors. If it means, China spoke about that earlier, if it means you have to make the politicians uncomfortable, then do that. Do not be afraid, my brothers and sisters. The future is yours. Walk through that door. Stand up. Be radical. Be determined. Be focused. And stand shoulder to shoulder because there's strength in numbers. Don't just, what you do, don't just do it for yourself. Take others with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to address your question directly. It will fall under the heading of both development and procurement. How we have structured the codes specifically in the document is if you'll go and have a look at the way the procurement codes work. So in order for individuals such as yourself who have smaller companies, perhaps not the greatest experience, we have added points to large companies to procure the services of BEE small organizations for certain portions of an event. So if your speciality is a cameraman, then that is what you will get used for. The purpose of this is twofold. So the first thing is obviously you get the work, or you are able to tender for the work and have an opportunity to work and get paid an income, which is prize number one. Secondly, you have an in, so you get to start networking with the right people. That might lead to more and more work, but that's again, as Gabby said, it's up to you. You know, you can get a foot in the door and you can choose. You can either make a mess of it or you can make a go of it. So it's about your professionalism, your willingness to learn, your willingness to grow and develop. Once you've got it in the organization, then our other section of the code comes in because it's about growth and development within that company. So the more you prove yourselves, the more you will grow. The more you grow, the more you will rise. The more you rise, obviously the more change you can make as an individual. So it's very much in your hands for a lot of the processes that we've put through. We are just giving you the guidelines. It's up to you to take that and put it into action. But that is how we have written it. So big companies will earn bonus points as well as extra points for procuring business with smaller organizations. So the rural companies or the one-man people, you will have equal opportunity to anybody else because now they will benefit from having you join them within their endeavours. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you all. I think it was Keke who also asked how to access the information. Yes, I've asked Mr. Tlachwayo to post some information, contact details, which you can access for accessing this information. And most of it, of course, will be on DSEC website. Same way that we're asking you to make inputs into this document. As you are aware, it exists now only as a draft. For you to be able to make further comments and inputs, there's an email on the DSEC website that you can make your submissions on. But before the end of the session, Colin will be able to post the contact details where you can be able to access. Are there any further questions?
I had a comment on the subcontracting question. So on the issue of subcontracting, which we know can be a potentially abusive situation, having worked as a freelancer myself, and because we are freelancers, we are not recognized under the current labor legislation, so you have no recourse. So the subcontracting element would fall also under enterprise development. And under enterprise development, we've recognized and acknowledged the need that big business and medium businesses need to mentor emerging and smaller-owned enterprises so that they can score points in that particular category of the scorecard. So we've looked at all of these provisions and we've recognized the barriers of access, and that's why when you go through the scorecard, which admittedly is a 112-page document, you need to pay attention to the detail, and therein you can approach established companies, you can approach local government in terms of their procurement strategy, and you can then hold them accountable in terms of how they farm out the work that is available, not just to established service providers, but be compelled in terms of the scorecard to create provision for you as an emerging or a smaller owned enterprise to get a percentage of the work that they procure in terms of goods and services. So I hope that answers that element of your question, because it's a key aspect of removing the barriers of entry for black-owned businesses into our sector. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Panel members, I'm not sure we still have more questions to be answered. Or we covered everything?
No, this.
Learners I put an Atlan City. As much as you are not Department of Arts and Culture and Sports Recreation, but we only request in as individual. From your different forums in Dobana, nizosinceda in trying to put this scorecard and then follow a process yazo. So right now Tina sijonge, according to me, ndijonge Department of Arts and Culture and Sports. Uyangixolela uba ndirong mkhulu wam. So xa sipose eminye imibuzo siyiposa because you are the only link right now, you know, esidibanisa with the Department of Sports and Culture. Because nina baza report indobana kule program yenebeniyenza, these are the inputs as or the questions or the yonke loo nto leyo. To go further, bendicela ubuza based on, just to add kulaa mbuzo wokuqala ububuziwe kokubana us from the small areas, because it's a serious challenge. We deal with situations whereby departments are not in our areas, they are in the cities. Even when we do send proposals, our areas are not recognized. because they are regarded as local municipalities. You understand? We're facing, and yet we've got the abilities to do e-events for an example. You understand? We're able to do productions. There are people who are skilled. You understand? It was a Kumakala, start a ramp, but so there's quite, from a technical events perspective. Umzekelo, le event kutheni yenzelwe apha eMonti. Why kungakhange kuyo-empowerishwa iJoe Gqabi okanye iChris Hani? Why are you still that you are? Once you are able to post, but now we don't get such opportunities. That's why I'm asking, why don't you give us a chance? And lastly, would it be possible, how possible would it be, local municipalities specifically? Because as I said earlier, the challenge is that if you are from those areas, your proposal is not regarded. Kujongwa from the cities. And obviously, the technical companies from the cities are going to get business because it's not just they have, but the platform means to apply themselves, you know, both from private sector and from public sector. Us, we don't have that luxury. So would it be possible, how possible would it be that the local municipalities, the departments, arts and culture, but a specific budget that they allocate, and then it gets monitored so that the local guys can then put any proposals that were based on, you know, their social space and how they can enhance their social space from an eventing perspective. I don't know if I'm making sense now, guys. Those are the two comments and questions that I had. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. I'm going to just address the tourism side and perhaps the interworking between the different departments. So I'll speak for myself as EXA, the Events and Exhibition Association. I am part of this forum, but I'm also part of SA Tourism and the various tourism, and we do try and collaborate. So they have also recently redone their BE documents. And if you want to go and have a look at the gentleman, Colin and Menzi and everyone who is here will be able to answer that. Unfortunately, we are not able to allocate you a budget. We'd love to, but we are not government workers. But you are welcome to follow any of us and see if you can gain.
Just